Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Table Talk. I'm your host, Jake Combs, and today we're going to be unboxing the Gloomspite Gitz Warcry Warband, and then we're also going to be taking a look at issue 455 of White Dwarf. So just set that down because it does not like to stand without the support of something. Because just like any other magazine that doesn't have a any sort of hardcover, it's prone to falling. But we're going to start off with the Gloomspite Gitz. Now, I know last time we took a look at the Corvus Cabal, and so there are still 3 other core warbands that all came out at launch, being the Cipher Lords, the Unmade, and the Splintered Fang. And so we do plan on getting to those eventually. But given the choice, I figured the squigs themselves, more than anything else, are going to be a hell of a lot of fun to paint. And so decided we'd start with these before we got to those ones. And for those looking to pick up the warband themselves, each of the warbands traditionally go for about $50. Now, if you were to get the Chaos Warband specific boxes that are for Age of Sigmar, that basically have twice the number of sprues that the Warcry box has, so duplicates of everything essentially. Those I believe go for 60 to 70, somewhere in there. So we have our rule book. We have everything you need for the Squig Hoppers, the Boingrot Bounders, and the Sneaky Snufflers. Now, from what I recall, there are several other Gitz models that are ideal for this warband that this box does not come with. So we'll take a look at the rule cards themselves, see which types of models we're missing. Now, there are quite a few sprues in here. Judging by the number of models you get, I'm not surprised. Because most models you traditionally have between 7 to 9 units, sometimes 10, but most of them kind of stop there. This one is 13, so I mean it's not a lot of models when you look at like a game like Age of Sigmar or 40k, but for a game like Warcry, that's a significant number, especially considering that like you're barely scratching the surface on what you could also have with it too. Because like just lifting up the sprues, I already see there are some cards of models that do not come in this box. And so we'll take a look at those too. But first, we're going to take a look at the sprues. Now, as we've come to expect from Games Workshop, really in general, but especially with Warcry, the details on the models are just fantastic. So right now I'm looking at the Snuffler models, and I love the kind of upside down spider that they have on their backs. And it's just so much detail, and it just looks like a lot of fun to paint. So really looking forward to doing them. And when we did our mass painting of Warcry stuff, when we did our Spire Tyrants, the Untamed Beasts, and our Iron Golems, at that same time we also did an Arachnarok Spider. And just for the hopes of one day fielding it, knowing that it's more meant for a greenskin army to subdue it. So with that in mind, I really wanted to get the Gloomspite Gitz more than anything else because there's just so much character to those models. So we're looking at our second sprue. Mostly got a lot of mushrooms, parts of the squigs, mostly body itself, and some legs more than anything else. And also got some of the goblin heads. I love the masks on those goblins. because I remember the last time I ever looked at fielding really a greenskin army in general, looking at them, it was just not a lot of character in those models. And you know, keep in mind that we're talking like back in 1996, 1997. So the overall selection wasn't nearly as big as it is now. And so the models weren't nearly as dynamic. You know, you didn't have as much detail either. And so, you know, seeing how much character that each of them has, it is definitely what's a lot more appealing than they used to be. Plus, really, when you look at the number of models that you have, I mean, how bad do you got to feel fielding, you know, a totally badass team like, you know, the Spire Tyrants, and completely just get tabled by just the overwhelming number of models that you get from Gloomspite Gitz, and things that, you know, basically shouldn't survive your blows, and yet they have so many on the table that it doesn't really matter a lot of the times. And so, you know, I've never really been a horde type player, mostly because I am cheap and I don't want to spend a lot of money on my models. I want to do, you know, just enough to get the job done. And so with Gloomspite Gitz, you know, I'm never going to field them in Age of Sigmar. But for Warcry, picking up just a few models, definitely much more appealing, especially since you're going to have a lot more fun painting them up and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Now with this sprue, this is one of 2 double sprues, and this has got the faces of the squigs as well as the bodies of some of the riders and some of the ground mounted goblins, or gits as it were. And then it looks like this sprue is pretty much the same but flipped. Let's see, I'm just checking the numbers. Okay, yeah, it is, because so this one that has the squig faces and this one has the squig faces, they are 180 degrees rotated of each other, but otherwise exactly the same, which makes me believe that when they're doing them, it's probably like this. So that way you have, you know, 2 sprues exactly the same, then you have the one sprue with the body parts, and then one sprue with the get body parts. Now, have a lot of bases. Looks like they're all the same size, so it means trying to figure out which one goes on which is going to be a lot easier. Now, one thing I failed to do, more because I didn't think about it than anything else, we did not bring out the cards for Corvus Cabal. All right, so we've got a couple melee-based units that are on the ground. We have a netter. We have one carrying, you know, kind of a little sickle-looking thing. A bow. Now, this one I'm disappointed it was not in the box, because it is another squig, but it's eating its rider and just looks awesome. And then we have one of the best gits, one of the squig herders. And then we have the cards for the actual squig riders themselves with squigs. And then the rider for the sneaky snufflers. So not a lot of models that you really need that you don't have, to give yourself a variety. Now, for those that have picked up the Ragnarok Spider, there are a lot of goblins in that box, And I'm willing to bet you could pretty easily, kit them out to be, stand-ins for these models. The net obviously would be a little bit difficult because I don't believe any of those goblins have that on there. But if you don't have all the goblins on top of it, just because you're using it just for the spider for Warcry, like I plan on doing, then you're going to have all those other goblin bits that can be used. So definitely a lot of options there. I love just the sheer number of models. I love, again, the character of each model too. It's not just multiples of the same squig hopper or a bounder, but you have a lot of different options for them. So definitely looking forward to getting them built, giving them a play, and seeing how good they are. And one of my favorite Gloomspite Gitz warbands that I've seen actually did, kind of like Power Ranger color on each of the squigs. Each one basically painted in the same scheme of one of the original Zord lines, and came out looking actually really cool. Kind of more like war paint painted on them when they were done, and did up each of the Gitz to match the Power Rangers that drove them. So that was pretty cool. I'm not gonna be doing anything like that. I'm probably gonna be sticking close to the original color schemes for these guys. Maybe a little bit moderation, because not all squigs are the same, but for the most part, just sticking with the standard colors probably. But those other goblin models that we're going to customize and put into the unit as well to be some of the ground models are definitely going to have a lot more unique attributes compared to most other people that are going to field this army that are just pulling from an already existing Gloomspite Gitz army. So definitely looking forward to doing that. Now on to White Dwarf 455. I know we're a couple weeks late. This issue's been out for a little while, but we just ended up getting it today. All right. So, as always, we have the letters to White Dwarf section. They even have a model of the month, which is one of my favorite models, Abaddon the Despoiler. And for the August painting competition, that was actually the model I painted and entered. Now, nowhere near as good as the models that placed and got honorable mentions, but it was by far the best piece I've ever painted, and so I was really proud of it. And if you actually go to our Twitter, you'll be able to see some images of that there. And then, so into the magazine, right after the letters, we go into World of Warhammer, basically talking about victory and defeat in general in the game. And then we have a real awesome spread of Gloomspite Gitz versus some Stormcast Eternals. Then we go into Tome Celestial. Specifically talking about the Jaws of Mork, which is as they put it, a squigglelanche of such prodigious size that they are more akin to an entire nation of cave beast riders than a conventional army. So gives us some background there, shows some armies being done. And then we get some War Scroll battalions, abilities, and then painting squig hopper guide. Now, because this is in here, I actually had no idea when I got the Gloomspite Gitz that the newest issue that I would also be getting on the same day was going to have a painting guide on them. And then we go into rules of engagement, specifically talking about Warcry, and more talking about kind of building a narrative for the game. Some definitely cool stuff. I love the look of this terrain right here. Then we go into a campaign called the Dreadscape. And so it looks like it's a war based in, well, the Dreadscape, and based on the quick description that it gave, is essentially an area mostly of the dead that is filled with chaos now. Then we go into a Tale of Four Warbands, Warbands of Karngrad, and this actually looks like a four warbands fighting each other from Warcry itself. So looking at the image, I see the Unmade, I see the Splintered Fang, looks like Corvus Cabal, and then the Cipher Tyrants. Or sorry, Cipher Lords. Can't believe I mixed that one up. And then the Unmades actually brought a Slaughter Priest with them. The Corvus Cabal brought the Myrmidon. And already seeing this, I'm definitely looking forward to reading through this. And then the Splintered Fang brought the Fomarade Crusher. And then the Mind Stealers and Sphinx went with the Cipher Lords. So it doesn't actually give a huge description of that game, but it does give you some kind of quick snapshots of it. Then we go into Echoes from the Warp. Specifically, looks like he's actually focusing more on squats. For a while now, really since I got back into the hobby, one of the most consistent things I've heard from the community is that a lot of people want squats back in the game. We thought when Blackstone Fortress came out and had 2 squats in it that we were going to start seeing a lot more of those, and so far we just simply haven't. And so this section, the fact that they're talking about it leads me to believe that probably in the next year, maybe 2 years, I'm willing to bet we're going to see squats make a comeback. Probably not a lot, probably like what we did with Sisters of Battle, where we only got like just a few new models and some new rules for them, but not much. And then a few months before the new edition that came out, they had a big box set that came out with a whole plastic army for the first time, and now they just released those as individual sets as well. So I'm saying probably within the next 1 to 2 years, I'm willing to bet we are going to see squats return in some fashion other than just in Blackstone Fortress. After that, we go into a fiction section called Faith Undimmed, specifically following the Sisters of Battle. and it looks like they're actually specifically dealing with Necrons based on the pictures. Then we go to an army showcase for the Horus Heresy, basically the 16th Legion. And then we got Warzone Pariah Nexus. So it's basically just details for a new Warzone to play. And then we have a continuation of a series that they started either 1 or 2 issues ago, basically building a White Dwarf themed chapter of Space Marines. So they're continue that with a lot more iconography and then basically some custom characters for it as well, and how to build him using some different bits. Then we go into a section I don't really remember seeing in the last few issues called Realms of Chaos. This one specifically is the Realm of Tzeentch. And basically how to, kind of paint your army to fit within that realm, and can even do that with, like skinks and stuff like that too, and have them kind of be modeled after that area. Like here we have the Idoneth Deepkin modeled for that area, and it's mostly showing them fighting in that area more than anything else. And then some really cool painting guides on Tzeentch realm bases. Definitely gonna have to bookmark this page because a lot of those look really awesome. And then painting up some horrors, some tricolored fire. Then we go into a battle report from Adeptus Titanicus, Betrayal at Ithraka. Looks like this one is quite extensive. Personally, I would have rather seen them do that with the Warcry Warbands one. Then we go into a terrain showcase for Middle Earth, specifically the ruins of Osgiliath. I love the attention to detail that they do when they do these terrain showcases, and the placement of some of the models makes it look like there's a battle really going on. And they even show some of the before and after effects that they did while building it and painting it. And then one of the very last sections is a Black Library section, specifically continuing the Faith and Fire short story. This is part 5 of 9, so in the next 4 issues of White Dwarf, we'll be finishing that up. And from what I recall, the full story itself is actually available as an ebook and a novella when they did those novella series, and may have even originated in Inferno, but I'm not sure about that one. And then we go into Inside the Studio, where members of the studio are sharing some of their pieces that they're doing. Always some cool stuff there. And then the next issue, which I believe comes out in 2 or 3 weeks, is going to be, looks like it's going to be more Necron based, because the teaser we have is the Silver Templars, which is a Necron force. So definitely looking forward to picking it up and taking a look at it. And from what I remember reading from the little teasers that we get on the Warhammer community site, that we are probably also going to get some more Warcry stuff in there as well. So definitely looking forward to that. But that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you all next week. Good night.